In this video, you'll learn how to create a map for your 2D level. Learn how to set up a tile map and then using that to build up the level based off your level sketch. So what you want to do first is download the placeholder tile set that's on Teams and extract the relevant files like so. And once you've done that, you'll have possibly within your downloads folder or where you've sent your folder to be extracted to, possibly within your hard drive. You want to just drag and drop this Caves tile set folder directly into your contents folder itself, and then it will create a new folder with these following textures. Okay, and then once you've done that, just minimize that or just get rid of it entirely because we don't need it now. So yeah, so from that, we're gonna use for this tutorial the grey tile terrain and the scaffolding textures for this level building, but obviously there's some others, or when you've got your own tile set, it's adding them in, but for this tutorial, it's just going to be using these two. So what we're going to do is select both by holding Shift or Control and then clicking them. Select both of them. I'm going to right click, and then where it says Sprite Actions, instead of doing the normal stuff that we did previously, we're going to instead select Create Tile Set, like so. Alright, so it changes to these. So what we're going to do is open the grey tile terrain first, and I'm also going to make it full screen so you can see it a bit more clearly. So this is just more of a viewpoint of your tile set that you created. Alright, so you'll notice when I click on the view of the tile set, it's not really lined up with each of these tiles because they should be a lot smaller, but our box is currently selecting like 4 squares at a time, which we don't want to have. This is due to because our tile size on the right hand side here is currently set to 32 by 32. Now this depends on more what you've set your tile set as. But for this placeholder tile set that's been created, it is a size of 16 by 16, which has been named within the tile set itself, which makes it a bit easier. But it's just making sure you remember when you export stuff from like Photoshop of your actual tile set. So because we got that says 16 by 16, we're simply going to change this to 16 by 16. So okay, and then you'll see now. Oh, stop doing it. Try it again. There we are. So you'll see now the box has changed and it is lining up to each of these squares correctly, which is what we want. Okay. So we know that we're doing it right there. So next thing you want to do, because with this particular terrain tile set, this is basically what our player will be able to walk on within our level. Alright. So we want to make sure that we've got the right ones essentially. So what I'm going to do is use this one, for example. And what I'm going to do is select each of these tiles, press box, so it says add box, so it's going to add a box shape to it. So this is basically like similar to within our actor blueprints. It's basically setting a box collider, but we have to actually also set the collision itself as well. So I'm going to do this to these following tiles, and if you want to do the same, you can do as well. possibly pause the video once I've done this, and then you can follow along and catch up. So yeah, I've added boxes to all these ones, and I'm also going to add a box to this one as well, because this will basically be the inner part of our floor, the open space between it. But with these ones in particular, I'm then going to go back to them and then press the colliding tiles. So it's showing that it's now got collision on top of each tile, which is what we want. Okay. So once you've done that, you're going to want to save those changes, and then we can close that like so. Then you want to open the scaffolding tile set as well. So this one is more of the background tiles that we want to have in our this level placeholder. So this is stuff that the player won't interact with, but it's just to make your level look more detailed and have more depth, essentially. So what we're essentially going to do is, like we did previously, we're going to change the tile size to 16 by 16, like so. Okay, so again, that matches up. But because this is our background version, all right, we don't need to add a collision to it for these tiles. We can save it, just leave it as it is. So you want to save, and then we'll go back and again just close that window because we don't no longer need it. And then what you want to do next is we're going to right click on our grey tile terrain for the tile set version, not the texture version. So it should be highlighted with an orange line rather than a red line, if you can see that. So right click, and there's going to be a new option that says create tile map. Alright, so you're going to click that, and then for the name of it, we're going to change this to one screen tile map. Okay. So, and then you want to open this up. And again, I'll make it full screen for us so we can actually see it. So, converting it to an actual tile map is how we basically build our level. All right, within our for our game. So I'm going to run through. We'll get some stuff set up as well as run through the basics of it. So and how you use it. So first things first is that we just want to set it up. So this on your right hand side, this is actually the builder preview screen. All right. This white border is basically your level boundaries for the tile map. So this is basically how big you want it to be. So I've got an example that I've created previously to help you. And this is what I'm going to be building to show as the example. So it might be worth when it comes to building any 2D level to have grid-based paper. Alright? Some of it can be different to others, but if you want to try and get the similar type of paper that I've got, it'll make things a lot easier. So you'll see and notice that each of these 4 little squares, 4 of them together, or 2 by 2 together, is 1 unit in Unreal, okay? So in this case, at the moment, the map width is 4. So this is 4 along, okay? Currently. But as you can see, from what the example of the level I built, mine is 27 on its width, and then it's 17 for its height, okay, for this level. So I'm going to match this up to the map width and map height in our setup. So I'm going to change this to 27 and then change this to 70. Now you notice that it is probably a lot better and correlates nicer within with how I want my level, essentially. Okay, so if I hover that there, you could do it kind of like lines up with it. All right. So I'm just going to minimize that again for the time being, and just show you the other tools. So there's basically just 3 different tools, and it's quite simple. So you've got your paint tool, which is just basically painting what tile you want to put in your level. So let's say you have to select it first, the tile that you want to use. Then with the paint tool selected, you'll now see that that's appeared into our scene, and you just basically start painting, either just clicking once, or if you hold, it'll make a straight line. Okay. So, all right. So let's say you're painting your floor and everything, but you want to use like a different tile, such as this. You can just click over it and it will replace it. All right. But let's say you've messed up entirely and you want to get rid of it. All you have to do is just press the eraser or just press the E key for the shortcut, and then you can use that to get rid of the tiles as well. All right. Now, the fill tool is used to help you with, well, just filling in like blank spaces or like the open areas that the player wouldn't go to, but you need to make sure you're building up your level to give that detail. So let's say, for example, I had my floor here. Oh, wrong one. My floor here. Hang on, let me just do that. So my floor here. Like so. And then it's going to bring that down like so, like that. And then going to bring that there. Like that. Okay. So this is like the actual floor that the player would interact with, but you want to fill this in. So I'm going to first select this tile as my fill layer, and then press the fill tool, or pressing the shortcut G, and then you just click and it'll fill it in like so. Alright, so that's the basics of how to use the tools for building your levels. So let's say I'm going to keep this as it is, alright, and this is going to be my foreground, alright, so the actual thing that the player is going to be walking on within our level. So up here in the details, there is your layers for your tile map. We're currently on layer 1, okay? Make it easier for ourselves and know the difference when we add later layers into it. You want to press rename. Change this to foreground / active. Okay, so foreground / active layer. Then you want to press the plus button. It's got like a plus with like a arrow kind of icon to add a new layer. And on default, this will be called layer 2. So this is going to be our background layer. So we're going to rename this and change this to background. So now, because we've added 2 layers, you need to make sure when you're editing your level, you're on the right one that you want to use. So you can either just select between them, like so, like that, okay? So let's say now I am wanting to use the background. So make sure you've got your background selected. And then we're going to find and use our background tile map. So what you want to do is where it says active tile set, there's like this icon here that looks like a Rubik's Cube icon. You're going to click on it, and then you'll see all the active tile maps that we've added. For this tutorial, obviously there's only got 2, haven't we? So you're going to select the scaffolding one now. It's going to change the tile set to this one now. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to click this tile set as the main background, and then make sure my fill is highlighted and selected, and then just click. And as you can see, it's covering my screen. So I've made a mistake, and I wanted to make sure that was behind our foreground. You can easily, just with this selected, just press this arrow, this down arrow, and it'll set it behind our foreground now. So it's now in the right position, like so. Okay. And then I'm going to do some other stuff with it as well. So if you hold left mouse button and then highlight over other tiles that you want in your level, it will select it as a whole instead, and select multiple tiles together. So I'm going to want in, let's say like that there, that as well. And then I'm going to bring that like just going straight up like so. And then maybe just here and there some boxes like that. Okay, so we're just adding extra detail, just so it's not like just one plain background. It's not boring. Okay. What else could we add? Probably like this one as well. With that, cool. All right. So obviously this tile set is for a cave tile set. All right. And obviously you might not want that within your level, but as long as you're showing for this draft version, or the blockout version of your intended level, when you eventually do add your actual assets, you're showing the level structure itself. And all you have to do is just, when you've added your tile map that you created, all you have to do is just change it, select the one that you want, and then essentially just paint over the existing one, essentially. So you still got the layout, but then you just change it to your new assets, like so. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to pause this video for a second, and then I'm going to make it kind of like pretty much match up to how I've designed mine. Okay, so I'll be back in a bit, and then if you want to also just pause the video, do the same as well, build your draft, and then resume it once you've done it. You can do that as well. So from using my level draft sketch, this is basically what I've created. Okay. You might have noticed that I've got a grid on. That's just because I have turned it on just here. So where it says tile grid, you can turn this on and off, just to help you if you wanted to, knowing what the actual grid size and counting them along and everything. So you might notice as well, compared to my level sketch, there's quite a few modifications made. So there's no longer a gap that's on that side. So if I wanted to, I could extend this level, but I'm just going to keep it as it is. And again, I've just made some modifications. So it's making sure that you're happy with the intended size that you've made before this level, to best match up with your sketch. Alright. So obviously you'll notice that there's like empty space here as well as here. That's because essentially it's basically where we're going to place our other assets, because obviously we can't place them directly into here. We have to add them and move them around within our actual level itself. So basically this is why it's key to like label all the assets within your sketch, so it helps you when it comes to the level building phase. So obviously our player is going to start roughly here. There's going to be a bounce pad here to allow them to jump here. So this bit is basically for us to test, can the player from that jump pad jump on top of there? And if not, it's maybe either increasing the jump value on our jump pad or decreasing the height of our platform here. Alright, and then after that there's going to be some falling platforms that the player will have to jump on up to, as well as there'll be a key on one of them that the player will collect. If they fail either here or here, there'll be a death trigger box that we'll add later on, where they'll show that poof animation and then respawn back to the start of the level. And then obviously there's going to be a locked door here that hopefully the player has picked up the key while jumping up the platforms. They can use that key to open the door and then they'll progress to the next level. But obviously because we haven't added those mechanics in yet, they won't progress, they'll probably just fall out of the map, which is fine for this case. Alright, so I'm going to save those changes, and then once you're happy with your block out of your level and how best it matches up to your creation of your sketch, you want to make sure you want to save the changes and then go back to your main scene, like so. So what we're going to do is actually add our tile set into our tile map into our level now. So like everything else, we're just going to drag and drop the one screen tile map into our level, like so. And again, we want to make sure it matches up perfectly to where our placement of our current assets are as well. So we're going to set this to 0, like everything else, sorry. And then you might notice, well, obviously our player is a bit too big for that, so it's going to be completing that quite easily. So what you're going to do as well is make sure on your scale of this tile map, again the lock icon is locked, and then we're going to change on the X, Y, and Z axis to 5. And obviously that makes it a bit bigger now, like so. And then I'm just going to move it up just so I can see it without actually pressing play yet. Let's scroll it down just so it's just above the floor, like so. Like that. Move it there. And then I'm going to click my player, move him up like that. And then yeah, just press save for the time being. So when we press play now, you can walk around your level, alright? And it's just to test and say, can I make it there? Obviously, that's where you would die. But it's like, if I had a jump pad here, could I jump to that next bit? If not, change that unit. But you may notice visually that it's gotten brighter. Yeah, it's not showing the actual true colours of our tile map. Okay, so we need to make some changes. First thing you want to do is within our outliner, you're going to want to find your directional light that's in your lighting folder. Select it and delete it. and that will make your whole level like just complete darkness, like a void. Alright? So, but you may also notice that, oh, it's still bright on the level itself. Alright? What we want to do is we're going to open up our player blueprint, like so. Make sure our camera is selected. And then you're going to search for the following, which is brightness. Okay. Depending on what version you've got on Unreal, so hopefully it's 5.6, so this might have changed its name, but it's basically the same concept. So it'll either say minimum or maximum brightness, or it should say minimum EV 100 or max EV 100. It's basically the same thing, don't worry, it's both for the exposure. What you want to do is enable both of these boxes, like so. I'm going to change both of these units to 4. Okay, so the minimum and the maximum are both the same, so it won't adjust the brightness, it won't scale to it depending on where our player moves and everything. Again, make sure to compile and save. We can close that again, go back to our level and press play, and then you'll see it matches up to our colour now, and the brightness has gone down within the game itself. So you might want to increase that. So I feel like it's a bit too dark, so I'm gonna change mine again. So I'm gonna search for brightness once more, and then let's say I'm gonna change it to 6 instead. All right, and compile and save. Go back. Do what? Let's try 2. Yeah, there we go. So 2. That's a lot better. So we can actually see our level a lot more clearly, and it's not too dark. Alright. So now, what you want to do is, once you've got your level, you're happy with it and everything, is then actually start adding, based off your sketch, start adding your assets that are meant to be in there. So again, I'm going to pause the video, and then I'm going to cut back to me adding those assets based off my level sketch. Okay? So, take my time to edit the level and add my required assets, and this is basically what it's looking at like. So again, based off my level sketch, it's pretty much the same, but again, a few modifications based off the size of the level. So I've got my jump pad here for the player to then jump on top. Then I've got some platforms. Again, initially I had 4 just to for the player to jump on. But again, I've changed that because of the level structure. So it's more of a gradual thing, but again, just have to like find the key to then jump to here. So I need to change this bit, so I'll show you how to do this based off that change that I've had to do, and it's making sure it's modified to that. So what I'm going to do, because again, design thinking everything, is instead I'm going to duplicate my spring launcher and put this on the last falling platform here. Okay, so you might say that because it's on a snapping mode as well, it's not lining up directly on the floor. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn that off and then just line it up, create it like that. And while talking about the platforms, to allow the player to jump to here, I've changed the default launch velocity for this one to 1000, and I've tested it, and the player now jumps onto here, which I'll show you when we actually play it. Whereas this one, this is on 1000 as well. We don't really want that to happen, or the player will get like launched all the way up to the roof, which we want to do. So before these changed, it was on 600 that when we did the tutorial for the Spring Launcher. So I'm going to change it to, so I think 600 should be the best option for it. So I'm going to set that back to its default number. And that will be different to that one because that is a different asset to the other one and they don't share the same. It would only change that as well if you changed it within the blueprint itself. But as long as you separate them within the viewport scene, it'll separate the values between them. Okay. Then obviously this door is connected to this key. Okay. Like so, and then I'm going to move the player start also to here as well, from where our player is. Okay. Just so it's in the same area. Now, that should be working. Oh yeah. So I should jump on there and then you should be able to progress. Alright. So I'm going to save these changes and then press play. So now I'm playing the level. Alright. So I'm going to jump on here, jump across here, and then what's going to happen when we jump across these, after so many seconds it will start to fall. We have to make sure we click the key at the same time. So do this as we go. We'll click the key, jump on the pad like so, like that. Okay, and then obviously the platforms will respawn. That allows us to open the door, and then you'd have like a trigger box which we'll add later on, or a checkpoint as well, to then progress to the next level. Okay, obviously we don't have that at the moment. Alright, but that's basically how to build a level for your game. Alright, so then you can use that, replicate this tutorial to help you build your own, when you build your own tile set, and you want to build your own map, possibly a bit larger based off the level sketch that you've made. Okay, or if you want to do multiple levels that join to one another and then transition to the next level, we can also do that as well, which will be provided in a later tutorial. Okay, thank you.